And Your Holiness, we're so honored and grateful that you could join us today. Thank you so much. As you know, one of the themes for this year's festival is the Buddha in literature. The Buddha in literature. And I wanted to begin by asking, when you first met stories of the Buddha's life and teaching as a young boy, what made the strongest impression? What moved you most when you first encountered the story?
I think as a young boy, not much interested about Buddhist philosophy or these things. But stories,
Yes.
like Jataka stories.
Yes.
So some are very, very moving. This is some, I think, the essence, something like sacrifice his own sort of, some part of his body, or some cases, even his life, in order to bring some a greater benefit to people. And even as an animal, some stories, of course, the animal, not much sort of versatile ability, but as an animal, sometimes birds, sometimes deers or rabbits, even you see, according to their own little sort of the capacity, serving or saving some others as a life, like that. So these are very moving.
Yes.
Then some stories looks very miracle. So since my childhood, I don't believe miracle. So too much miracle stories, I don't like. Yes.
And then was there a moment when suddenly you came to a much deeper understanding of the Buddha and both his life and his teaching?
Actually, I always say, refer Indians, historically, our guru. Because in 7th century, Tibetan emperor noticed the Buddha Dharma is something suitable for Tibetan people. Meantime, already have marriage, one Chinese empress, princess. Very close link already there in family level. Right? But he prefer, as far as Buddhism is concerned, he prefer communicate or contact directly to India. So then, 8th century, another Tibetan emperor, Chusung Tesen, invited one top scholar at that time in Nalanda institution, Shandarakshita, great scholar, philosopher, as well as great logician. According to his writing, 2 major books, one philosophy, Madhyamika philosophy, one logic, Pramana, Praman. So since then, they are sort of the way study is strictly according his sort of instruction. So that means Nalanda tradition. He himself has to study in Nalanda and become the great sort of professor or scholar of Nalanda. So, in our tradition, study at very young age, say 6, 7-year-old, we start memorizing some of the root text, we call root text. Then eventually, commentary, these root text. Then it's a study word by word. with explanation by tutor. So then, my age, of course, they start sort of memorizing, learn by heart, about 6, 7 years old. Not much interest, but compulsory. Because my tutor also sometimes quite sort of, what to call, a stern face. So out of fear, I have to sort of learn. But my main sort of interest or my main mind always go play. Running here, there, or sometimes you see some sort of toys, which then, from time to time, from my friend, I received some toys. Toys, by the way, toys, something moving, like a small car or train, like that. I always see, have sort of deep curiosity, how movement come. So a few moments I play, then open inside. So quite often you see broke. Although try to reassemble it, no, but it didn't work. So that, I think, to me, I think quite not waste time at that time. I think interest about this technology, these things. So that eventually developed my interest about science, like that. So in any way, then I think 11 years, 12 years, 13, then I start learning debate. Then in order to carry debate, you have to prepare. Well, otherwise you easily get defeat. So then more rigorous sort of study start about 11, 12, 13. Then around 15, 16 years, then I really developed interest, practice. And in order to practice well, you have to study, because without knowledge, what you can practice? And particularly in the field of philosophy and logic, you see, in order to utilize our intelligence more deeper way, you need substantial sort of knowledge about the reality. And then, on the basis of these sort of some understanding, then further investigation, and through debate, go like that. So that's the way I develop. So still, I consider myself as a student of Nalanda tradition. Still, now, even now, age, now 77, over 77 years old, but still, whenever I have opportunity or I have time, I always reading these root texts, which I learned from my age 6, 7 years old. Now, when I reading some knowledge, so really very, very wonderful.
And I think one of the unexpected things about the Buddha is he said you should challenge even his word. Is that right? I think there are 2 statements from the Buddha in the temple next to Your Holiness's house, and one of them says, never take my word, you have to test for yourself.
Yes.
So even when you're reading the Buddha's texts now, you're always challenging or debating.
The Buddhas say one verse, it seems available in Pali Tripitaka also. Then in Chinese also there. So in Tibetan also is in that verse. That verse is mentioned, Buddha state, "O my follower, should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation and experiment. So there are many Nalanda masters like Nagarjuna, Buddhapalita, Chandakirti. These great masters of Nalanda, usually I describe Nalanda professors, you see, they really, carry investigation, Buddha's own word. Whenever they find some Buddha's own sort of teaching, if you accept the literal meaning, and if that goes against our sort of the investigation, our logic, then we have sort of liberty, should not accept that Buddha's teaching, should take a different interpretation like that. So that, I think, quite a unique thing. So I have this one story. Perhaps I think I would like to share with you. About 40 years ago, I began to feel or began to develop sort of keen desire to talk or to learn or to discuss with modern scientists. Then some of my friends, actually express from the West, they say, some Western, supposed to, I think, Buddhist. When I sort of expressed my desire, sort of dialogue with modern scientists, then they give me warning, or be careful. Science is a killer of religious faith, so be careful. Then I thought. Think sorry. Then I remember this quotation. So no problem. The scientific sort of way of research, or science also, seeking reality through investigation, through analyze and experiment. Buddhist way of thinking also is analyze what's the reality. So therefore, the basic way of approach to seek the understanding of the reality is the same. Of course, up to now, modern science mainly deal with matters which you can take measurement. Subject like mind, you cannot take measurement, right? And then, of course, the ultimate purpose also different. Science simply try to expand our knowledge about reality. The Buddhists not only matters, but also consciousness, mind, emotions, our experiences. Then ultimate purpose also, they try to eliminate the negative, destructive emotions. So something different purpose and different way of approach. But basically, investigate. In order to know the reality, you have to investigate. You analyze the situation. Buddhists use our brain as ancient time, Buddhists used to use our brain as a laboratory and examine that way, and then use logic. Modern science, laboratory with big machines, then investigate. So then I start talk with scientists. Now, after 30 years, serious discussion with scientists. Of course, not the sort of subject as Buddhism, no. I always make distinction. Certain sort of description about reality, including mind, emotion, that should consider as a science of mind or science of matters. Although it comes from Buddhist literature, but this substance where contents itself is science. No concept of right or bad, right or wrong. Simply, what is the reality? Then second group, second part, then Buddhist philosophy. On the basis of investigation, things are changing. So obvious change takes place only on the reality momentarily changing. Without momentarily changing there, the obvious change will not take place. So second by second, things are changing. So like that, Buddhists call impermanence, momentarily changing. Now as far as the physical world is concerned, now scientists on atomic, usually we say this tree now a few decades, some big tree say, or even 100 years. But actually, the momentarily changing. Therefore, each moment, new trees in substance, in very subtle level. So that now scientists with big equipment, we can see atom momentarily changing, always moving, isn't it? So that's the substance of all these for the physical world, including our own body, our own brain, momentarily changing. So these Buddhist philosophy, philosophical views, things are impermanence, always changing. And then also now modern scientists very well sort of described the things are interconnected, particularly in the terms of brain, emotions, or consciousness. Much things to see because of the interrelated. Then also like time, all these, see there, and quantum physics now, here, quantum physics. It's very similar. The 2000 years ago, the Nalanda master, Nagarjuna, see, he, on the basis of Buddha's sort of word, he further sort of explained, things, exist, the very nature of existence is absence of independent existence. So quantum physics now exactly is saying that. One time, one my Indian sort of friend, scientist, Rajaraman, nuclear physicist. In Delhi, one time, you see, he mentioned the quantum physics in the world, quite new sort of concept in the sort of recent century. But that concept in this country, in Bharat, 2000 years ago, already found that concept. So he really feels proud like that. I think a modern Indian, like this young Indian, I think too much attraction about material development for getting used to these things. I think you should pay younger generation of Bharat, I think should pay more attention about your 1,000-year-old, these rich sort of philosophical views or rich tradition. Firstly, ahimsa. And on the basis of ahimsa, the religious harmony in this country. Through centuries, at least I think 2,000-3,000 years, different spirituality live together. Occasionally some problems here and there. But basically, overall, I think the harmony among different religious traditions I think India's case is I have something, I think, wonderful sort of tradition. So I always say, refer India as a living example. Different religious tradition can live together, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh. So this country, besides homegrown different religious tradition, all major religious tradition from outside also used to come here and settle. Overall, I think very harmoniously. So these things, I really feel the greatness of India. Ahimsa, non-violence, and then I think in the modern time, after you got independence, comparatively quite stable, quite peaceful, compared neighboring states. Now, unfortunately, I always say, frankly, sort of expressing the corruption. Actually, this is cancer of whole world. Very serious. And then those people who do not sort of concern about faith or spiritual faith, that's understandable. But India, generally speaking, very religious-minded nation, isn't it? I think especially like you, those ladies, I think every morning some prayer in the front of statue of Ganesh or Shivaji or Brahma or Saraswati, isn't it?
Yeah.
Offer some flowers and some incense and then recite some Sanskrit shloka, I think most probably without knowing the meaning. So looks very religious-minded, but their daily life, not much concerned about corruption or injustice. Sometimes I jokingly telling my Indian friend, it seems your actual prayer or seek blessing from God or from Lord or from Buddha or from Shivaji, like that, seems to say, please give me blessing or strength to carry corrupted work, corrupted life. Impossible. There's no other choice. Either religious-minded or corrupted mind. No other choice. Is it? Oh, one few old, gentlemen here. Do you agree that? Thank you. Thank you. So traditionally, I consider, as I mentioned earlier, you see, you Indian, our guru, we are chela. So sometimes this is chela's expression a little bit frank, too frank. Then sometimes I feel a little concerned about gurus, gurus or say, gurus feeling. And also you see, I telling my Indian friend, we are not only chela of Indian as guru, not only chela, but also quite reliable, faithful chela. So reason, all those knowledge, you see, we learned here, we kept here, all come from India, mainly Nalanda, through Indian masters. So the last several centuries, the guru's home, these knowledge, too much ups and downs. Now almost, I think, disappear. So during this tragedy in Guru's own home, we as a chela kept intactly. So that shows we are quite reliable, quite sincere chela. So now too long. So in any way, 가사 그거 되게 좋더라고. So you see, Buddhist teaching, I think, give us some kind of open mind. Even investigate his own word. And then, so therefore, the last 30 years, my sort of engagement with scientists, mainly 4 fields: cosmology, neurobiology, and physics, particularly quantum physics, then psychology. In these 4 fields, like cosmology, although it's a Buddhist literature, some literature explain about that subject, but very, very helpful to learn from scientists, including the Big Bang theory, these things. Really, very, very helpful. Then neurobiology. Although Buddhist literature, particularly the practice of yoga, some explanation about different chakras, different sort of, energy centers, and Chandalini, Kundalini, like that. So it is quite useful to make comparison. The modern science, scientific sort of knowledge about neurons on these things, very useful. Then, of course, quantum physics, I already mentioned something. Then psychology is concerned, Western sort of science, I think compare science of mind of India, compare that, I think modern science of mind is something like kindergarten. So, number of scientists, they really find very useful information about mind, about consciousness, and the system of the mind. Now, in the medical field, and also brain specialists, now these scientists really, develop some sort of curiosity or interest about mind. So for health, the mental state is very, very essential. Peace of mind, very important factor for healthy body. And then those brain specialists or neuron, they already see very clearly, very close link, mind and these neurons there. But still, big question, mind come first or neuron movement come first? Still not very clear. Just, I think 3 days ago, I was in one Tibetan sort of biggest monastic institution near Hubli. So our sort of annual meeting with scientists. Now this time, last year I suggested maybe worthwhile our meeting take place in one of our bigger monastic institutions. So there are few thousand, at least I think 2 to 3,000 young monk students and also nuns there. So in front of them, you see our discussions. Because of that, we done. So very, very sort of interesting. Very, very interesting. So we Buddhists also, you see, now particularly younger generation, now very eager to learn from scientific explanation. And scientists also, you see, they found very useful information about mind and how to tackle these emotions. So that's, so this, we never discuss with scientists about next life. or moksha or nirvana. That's Buddhist business. We discuss those things with something directly related with today's world. I think everybody, now I think too long.
All right. Well, following on from that, I think many people are surprised. Your Holiness is one of the most respected religious figures in the world. But your last book was called Beyond Religion. So you think that there are things more important than religion? Science or something like that?
My latest book, Kasa, Beyond Religion. Actually, that title, not my recommendation, but the publisher made that. When I received the copy for the first time, I immediately felt, Beyond Religion. That seems to say the subject which I mentioned in that book is something above, something beyond religion, is something more important. Certainly, that's not the case. What I want to say is, religion, all major religious traditions carry moral ethics. But moral ethics within their own sort of religious certain circle. So the point, the secular ethics is not necessarily based on religious faith. Irrespective whether believer or non-believer or religious-minded or non-religious-minded, we are same human being. We have same emotion. 7 billion human beings on this planet. Emotionally, mentally, physically, same. And the most important, all 7 billion human beings want happy life, successful life, healthy body. And everyone have same right to achieve these goals. Usually you see people not much serious about religious faith. They forget about these inner values. As a result, finally they themselves not necessarily be happy person. Billionaire, very rich. I have some friend in America, in Europe, very rich, but as a person. And I talk, and we sat, and then just to express casual talks. Then I found many of them deep inside, lonely feeling, unhappy. So that clearly shows money fail to bring inner peace. Sometimes too much sort of concern about money, then corruptions easily come. Just think money, more greed comes. Result, and in order to get some money, various methods. So unhealthy society comes, I think, out of because of the lack of moral principle. So then, I'm trying to show people moral ethics are very, very essential for our physical well-being, happy family, happy community, through that way, happy humanity on this planet. However, in order to develop moral ethics, not necessary religious belief. So here, another India sort of long tradition, secular. India's own constitution based on secularism. Because the India, multicultural, multi-religious nation. So ethics, if based on religion, then what is religion? A lot of complications. So therefore, according to that reality, our forefathers like Mahatma Gandhi or Rajendra Prasad and Dr. Ambedkar, all these who sort of participated making constitution, I think they wisely adopt India's constitution based on secularism. So secular does not mean disrespect religion. Some my friend in the West, some Christian, some Muslim, when I used the word secularism, secular, they a little bit sort of hesitant. Then according to India's understanding about meaning of secular, respect all religions, no preference about this religion or that religion. And then also, according to my one sort of friend, Dr. Advani, former Deputy Prime Minister, once he told me, the secular means respect, also respect the nihilist, the Sanskrit word Charvaka school of thought, denying the value of spirituality, just this life, day-to-day life. So the rest of sort of different school of thought argue Charvaka's view and criticize and sometimes condemn. But meantime, refer those people who hold that nihilism, refer Rishi. Rishi means sage. So there is sort of clear sort of the tradition, respect non-believer also. So this is very fit today's sort of reality. Respect all religions. At the same time, respect non-believer. Equal as a human being, human brothers, sisters. I think really wonderful. So therefore, you see, my main sort of effort, ethics based on secular attitude. So if you have religious faith, wonderful. But if you have not much interest about religion, okay, you're still a human being. You want a happy life. You want a peaceful mind. So this secular ethics is something very relevant, their day-to-day life, in order to achieve happy life, happy family. Clear? So that book, beyond religion, that means not disrespect or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So whenever I give talk in West, in America, Canada, Europe, or Latin America, in Japan, and these different countries, mainly, previously, three things. Number one, for interest of 7 billion human beings, I always make or emphasis importance of inner peace. The ultimate source of inner peace is inner strength, self-confidence. That if you develop sense of concern of well-being of other, then your physical action, verbal action become, physical, verbal action never be harming other, because you take serious concern about their well-being. So how can you develop some kind of negative sort of feeling or negative action towards them. And then fear. Fear very much related with distrust. So distrust, fear, the real sort of antidote, fear and distrust is love. Respect them, develop sense of concern of their well-being, then automatically become friend, can trust. If you open, honest, truthful, transparent, then people get gradually trust. First, you yourself should extend trust, respect, as a human brothers and sisters. Then trust come. More trust come. Distrust automatically disappear. Then very basis of fear gone. And you can carry all your works, all your life transparent. So that gives you inner self-confidence, inner strength. That brings peace of mind. Clear? So these are mental sort of system like that. Last year, I saw one article wrote by one scientist. He mentioned those people who tell lies often, inside much more stress. Isn't it? Honest, truthful, transparent. Certainly, you see, there's no basis of stress. If you tell some nice things, inside some different things, then you always feel, one day my friend may know that hypocrisy, hypocritic sort of attitude. So always some anxious, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that's quite true. And then also, a few years ago, in New York, one university, one meeting with scientists, one, I think, a medical scientist, you see, he mentioned, according to his sort of investigation, those people who often express the word I, me, mine like that, these people have greater risk of heart attack. If you want heart attack, then think more self-centered arrogance. Then you get heart attack. Just think yourself, I. Very narrow sort of, narrow view. Think about others, well-being of others. Your mind become open. Your mind become very vast. Then your own problem will not appear as some unbearable problem. Just I come from Bombay, the slums, poor people, and especially on the street, poor children. No shoe, no proper clothes, certainly no education facility. These are also human beings. And recently I was in Patna. On occasion I returned from sort of engagement. Beside the road, one boy, I think paralyzed, naked, and climate very cold, still naked, and remain like that. I felt I want to stop my car, and because of the inquire his sort of situation. Then in the street, my car already is distance, can't help. So, I think, and meantime, next in Bombay, yesterday, poor children there, just next, was a very expensive marriage ceremony. I really feel unfair. I think instead of spend a lot of money for that, 가서다 grandest way, should elaborate sort of what's the decoration or like that. I think a few trucks full of bread, cheese, fruit, and go street. Each sort of day, those sort of people give something. That's, I think, best ceremony of marriage. Otherwise, I think if these people really religious-minded, God will not happy. Clear. As a Buddhist, if you do that way, Buddha never feel happy. So now here, religion also corrupted. A lot of corrupted religious person. So essentially, these also no sincere conviction about this moral ethics. So religion simply used for their own way of earning. Corrupted. That?
Well, I think we have just 10 more minutes for questions, so we're going to take them from the floor.
From floor? Yes, okay.
I think they're coming up here, maybe.
Yes. Pico, I think just logistics-wise, it's going to be almost impossible to take questions and keep this stage. So maybe we leave the last one to you, if you don't mind.
So we have 10 full minutes.
If you are, so some time fixed, no, then of course, different question. But for me, no problem. Another.
Yeah, I think they have to. A meeting is coming on.
Half an hour. I can spend here. Very comfortable here. Okay.
I think they have another event coming quite soon.
If some other program, then of course that also visual benefit. I will go. Yes. Welcome.
All right, you're a lucky man.
To most of us mainland Indians, Buddhism seems to be a foreign word. Yet, Mr. Goenka has started teaching Vipassana meditation. Do you think that's a good representation of following the path taught by the Buddha? Would you recommend it?
Yeah, that's good. I know Goenka-ji since many years. In fact, you see, he wanted me also there, but due to the shortage of time, not yet is a visit. Then I will give you some suggestion. As I mentioned earlier, in Buddhist literature, explanation about mind, about emotion, and the whole system of emotion there. So you take these things as an academic subject, not as a Buddhist religious sort of matter. So no one, any sort of religion, no matter how sort of great, never be universal. So now problem, we 7 billion human being faces. And now, in order to deal that problem, we must find a method which can be universal. So I think these Buddhist centers, I think, should pay more attention about the academic subject, not only just with a close eye and meditate that. That's my view. and as well as also the ancient non-Buddhist school of thought, like Sangha philosophy, very, very rich. Now today, unfortunately, in this country, I think those great thinkers, ancient great thinkers, Buddhists as well as non-Buddhists, like particularly like Sangha philosopher and many others. You see now that I think now much sort of damage, because you simply contented recite some shlokas and some offering, and those religious leaders also they carry some sort of rituals. And Buddhists also in Ladakh, in Tibet also in the past, is some monk, some monastery, just to carry their rituals. And in some cases, little sort of meditation. It's not sufficient. I always criticize such sort of practice. The ancient sort of tradition must make relevant today's world. Just a prayer, ritual, not much helpful. That's my view.
Your Holiness.
One?
Okay, last question and then.
No, last question, yes. Good, one from here now. Oh.
Okay, this really has to be the last question, I'm afraid.
Sir, my question is, if we have a fear and we do not know the reason for the fear, how to give up that fear then?
Fear. Of course, if because of the lightning ray or earthquake happen, then not much time to investigate. You have to escape. Otherwise, you see, there are some sort of more serious sort of things which can develop fear. Then analyze. At the 8th century, one great Nalanda master, Buddhist sort of philosopher, he advised us, when we face some tragedy, some difficulties, then analyze. Then, after analyze thoroughly, in a more holistic way to analyze. Then, if the difficult situation or the danger can overcome, then no need sad or fear. If the situation is no way to overcome, then no use too much worry, too much fear, accept. So that's, I think, very, very practical advice, suggestion. I practice that.
Your Holiness, I think everybody here wishes we could speak for 30 more minutes or 3 more hours, but I've been told we have to make way for the next session. But thank you so much for all your time.
Thank you.
Kindness.
Thank you very much. Thank you.